How long should a singer practice for per day, at least on average? This is one of the things most singers battle with, especially beginners. So let's talk about it today. When it comes to time duration for practice, it is very easy to practice for a very long duration of time when it comes to other instruments. You could sit down and practice on your piano and time goes by without you even noticing. But when it comes to the voice, it's a different thing entirely. I know that so many of you would be hoping to see me give a specific time duration, but I won't give any specific time duration so that some of you won't get rigid with it. That's because when it comes to the voice, you have to be smart because it's not like other musical instruments which are built outside the human body. I'm going to be very careful with this one because some persons might want to get rigid with it. But know this, that you're not supposed to get rigid when it comes to how long you should practice for, because the time duration differs from person to person, and also based on the following factors. 1. The level of the singer. It is advisable for a beginner not to practice for a long duration of time per day. At least 10 to 15 minutes per day is okay for a beginner, especially those who don't have a coach working with them yet. But please, you shouldn't get rigid with the time duration I just stated, because there are other factors too, which I'll still explain in this lesson. I'm only stating the duration here because beginners who don't have a coach working with them may find it difficult to understand or know what is right or wrong for them for their level. So it's advisable for beginners to practice for a very short duration of time because they can easily lose focus on what they're working on. Thus, it is good to start little, set yourself in the right path, then you can increase the time duration as you develop. Furthermore, most beginners don't understand how the voice works, and they also do not understand their voice properly. Therefore, they may hurt themselves very quickly because they may not know the stamina of their vocal folds just yet. They may also be forcing and bullying their vocal folds. And they may easily lose the sensation of the exercise they're working on. So it's advisable for beginners not to spend much time in their practice session per day without a coach working with them. But the biggest issue with some beginners is that they always want to become a pro singer overnight, so they spend hours straining and bullying their voice, all in the name of practicing, which would only lead to vocal damage. This is because most beginners do not understand the concept of focus, a good practice plan, and discipline. Therefore, beginners shouldn't spend more than 15 minutes in their practice session if they are working on their own. But the duration may change if they are working with a coach. The coach would determine the time duration for them. For intermediates and pros, they already have a good understanding of their voice, the concept of focus, good practice plan, and discipline. Therefore, they should know their vocal stamina and know when to rest their voice per day. 2. The vocal stamina of the singer. The vocal stamina of a singer is very important when it comes to the time duration of each practice session. If your vocal stamina is weak, then it's advisable you don't spend much time in your practice session per day. But the good thing is that the more you practice correctly per day, it's the more you'll build vocal stamina. More so, if you've been out of singing for a while, maybe due to some circumstances, it's advisable you resume with a short time duration for each practice session. This is because your vocal stamina level may reduce due to the fact that you stopped singing activities for a while. Then as your vocal stamina increases, you should gradually increase the duration. However, whether your vocal stamina is very strong or not, there are some days your vocal stamina would reduce, perhaps because of health issues, like when you're stressed or vocal fatigued or ill. In such days, if you have to practice at all, it shouldn't be for too long. Little duration is advisable here. 3. The health of the singer. When I talk about health issue here, I mean the health of your body in general and the health of your vocal folds too. Remember that your whole body is your instrument. When you're not physically fit for a particular day, maybe because of emotional stress or any kind of stress, or you're ill, it's advisable not to practice for long if you have to practice at all. The reason is that sometimes when you're stressed or ill, your vocal folds may be affected too, which would cause them to be vulnerable to damage.
When your vocal folds are fatigued, it is not advisable even to practice at all, but if you most practice, then the time duration should be very little. Also note that how you use your voice per day will determine how fatigued your vocal folds would be before your practice session. For example, a teacher whom is also a singer would have a fatigued voice almost every day because of the nature of their job, which would lead their voice to be in a fatigued state almost every day.
4. The state and condition of your vocal folds. This is a very important factor to look at when practicing. If the state or condition of your voice is poor, you shouldn't practice at all. Just rest and recover. That is to say, if your voice is seriously fatigued or damaged, just rest it. But if there is need to practice, then it shouldn't be for longer duration. 5. The technique you're working on. If you're working on a technique that's very tasking on the vocal folds, it is advisable not to practice it for a longer duration. You just have to be smart. For example, if the technique is too tasking on your voice, you may want to break the time duration into different sessions per day, like, let's say 5 minutes in the morning, 5 minutes in the afternoon, 5 minutes in the evening. Putting all together per day would be 15 minutes per day. You see how smart it is? 5 minutes per session, and the voice would have to rest for hours before tasking it again that same day. That's being smart. 6. Being smart with the way you treat your voice. Smartness is the key when it comes to time duration for your practice per day. I know some of you may think it's consistency, but consistency isn't the key here. Yes, consistency is one of the keys in your singing journey, but in this case, it's not the key to be used here. When it comes to time duration for your practice, the key to be used is smartness and not consistency. But when it comes to perfection, that's when consistency and deliberate practice is the key. You have to be sensitive and smart when it comes to your voice. Even when you're working with a coach, your coach won't be there to guide you always when you're practicing an exercise. Your coach may give an exercise and a particular time duration for the exercise, but you also have to be smart when working on it. Let me give you an example with how I handle my students so you'd understand what I'm saying. Each lesson I teach my students comes with an exercise or lots of exercises. And each time I give them an exercise, I also give them a specific time duration for that exercise per day. However, there is a statement I always make after giving them an exercise or a challenge for the week or month. I always tell them to follow my instructions, including the time duration, but most importantly, they should follow the duration of their voice for a particular day. Stress, illness, vocal fatigue, etc. That is, let's say the duration for the exercise is 5 minutes per day, and their voice is in top form that very day. They should do the exercise up to the maximum time given. But if their voice is tired for that day, they should do below the maximum time as they see fit. But if it's too tired to practice, they should rest. So the goal is to be smart while working hard. There are more examples to being smart when it comes to time duration for your practice section, but I'll keep it here for now. In conclusion, you should be disciplined enough to practice for at least 5 to 6 days a week, leaving a day or two for vocal rest so that when you continue your practice the next week, your voice would be in top shape for 2 to 3 days in order to complete the maximum duration of your practice plan. Then the remaining 2 or 3 days may not last up to the maximum duration of your practice plan. Anyway, it all depends on your daily activities and how you use your voice per day. Nevertheless, on average, you should practice for 30 minutes per day. But once you lose focus on what you're working on, stop the practice and rest. The major thing in every exercise is the sensation and focus. So when you lose the sensation and focus, stop the exercise and rest. It doesn't matter how long you've practiced for. What matters is how well you practiced per day. For example, a singer who practiced correctly for just 10 minutes per day for 6 days will develop faster and better than a singer who practiced wrongly for 1 hour per day for 6 days. Their outcome would be one practiced correctly for 1 hour in total for 6 days, while the other practiced wrongly for 6 hours in total for 6 days. While the other is gradually developing his voice, the other is seriously working on nothing or damaging his voice. Like I said earlier, being smart is the key here, not hard work nor consistency. Hard work and consistency are different keys, which opens different doors in your singing journey. And note that there are different keys, not just one. Your ability to apply these keys correctly will help facilitate your singing journey. Would you like me to talk about the different keys you need for your singing journey? Let me know in the comments section. Like and follow my page for more vocal and singing lessons. Till next time, one mic. Happy singing.